SportsGrid. Be back tomorrow for more fun. We're going to preview the World Series for you on Friday's show. We'll see you later.
After the first week of football, who'd have thought Alabama would be right back on the top? After a couple losses, Texas would have a chance to be back where they are. And we've all kind of watched Texas A&M and Ole Miss kind of jump right in the hunt. And, that Texas A&M's kind of become my dark horse because they can beat you offensively and they can beat you defensively.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
Better bets $90,000, FanDuel, New Jersey, LA. Oh, it must be some sharp hockey better. Yeah, or a rich kid with nothing better to do on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is funny. God rest his soul, Dave Sheriff always used to say, if he told me this one time, Gabe, he told me 1,000. It's not how much someone bets that moves line, it's who's betting.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I think they are fringes.
Yeah, that might be a push. That's a preference thing, I think. Do you want to be in the SEC? Do you want to live in Happy Valley versus Norman? Maybe you can go down to Texas.
I would take Norman.
Well, to go down and get talent out of Texas.
Yes.
But I think you've got to have alumni, president, athletic director that are all on board and committed to winning. And you need to have a fan base that shows up in sports.
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here.
Welcome in to a loaded Thursday edition of Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you here on SportsGrid, right here at the Decisions desk. We have a loaded lineup for you on this Thursday night. Donnie Rightside will join us in 10 minutes' time, get his thoughts on the NFL Thursday night special, as well as an early look at the World Series, which begins tomorrow between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. Alex Insdorf will join us as well, who does an excellent job covering the Chargers and getting a sense of how that team projects heading into tonight's very important matchup with the Minnesota Vikings. Dustin Dopirak, who covers the Indiana Pacers for the Indianapolis Star, will join us as well with a 2-pack of big-time action in the association. We'll get more into that. Mike Blewett will join us. Marcelino as well, always on a Thursday, helping us out MLS playoffs. We've got a lot of good stuff. Where do I think people will be focused primarily tonight? That is, of course, on a very, very important Thursday night game between the Chargers and the Vikings. What is at stake for these two football teams? I think it is fair to say their postseason outlooks will have major shifts off of this spot. Entering tonight, LA a little bit better than minus 190 to make it. At a 4-3, still sitting with a 3-0 record in division. There's runway they've allowed themselves in Hollywood. But they have to win this game tonight, or I think at 4-4, that number could shift to a plus price. For Minnesota, we're already seeing a plus price. They sit dead last right now in the NFC North. This is the kill shot. This would shift the Minnesota Vikings to under 500 for the first time this season. And I don't think many people will be desperate to back them, even if it means J.J. McCarthy is back. When you just take a look at the next 5 games here for the Vikes, at Detroit, Ravens, we think Lamar is back, Bears, on the road against Green Bay, at Seattle. Could this team be an underdog in all 5? I would say at least 4 of them. a gotta-have-it spot if there ever was one for Minnesota. We do have Carson Wentz still playing in this football game for the Vikings tonight. Again, for what projects as his final start as the Minnesota starter, it is an interesting spot then props-wise. Where do you get involved? Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. You do have a little bit now cloudier backfield for the Vikings as Aaron Jones returns off the IR. Jordan Mason, though, still projecting as RB1. We have best bets to you from our crew from this game. We also have best bets from the crew with the association tonight. 2 games. It starts with an NBA Finals rematch between the Thunder and the Pacers. A long injury report for Oklahoma City. They started the year without Jalen Williams and Isaiah Joe. On the heels of their opening night double overtime victory against the Rockets, they've added Alex Caruso with a concussion, so that could be a little bit lengthier. And Kassan Wallace, who started for OKC on opening night, because of the Jalen Williams absence, is now out for this basketball game. That is a lot of perimeter defense. That's just a lot of the wing depth for OKC that has been pulled back. Aaron Wiggins, does he slot into that starting lineup? I don't believe we have it just yet out of Oklahoma City, but that is absolutely something to keep your eyes on. We still have 2 teams making their debut. One is, of course, the Indiana Pacers in this game. The other, the Denver Nuggets in game number 2 with Nikola Jokic and a somewhat revamped Denver team taking the floor. A lot of expectations right now in the market for this Nuggets group, and understandably so. The swaps that they made, it looks like it's upgrades across the board, right? The incumbent 3, we had DeAndre Jordan, Michael Porter Jr., and Russell Westbrook. That has now turned into Jonas Valanciunas, Cam Johnson, and Bruce Brown. Pair that with just internal growth on some of the youngsters, Strother, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, and I think there's a lot to be excited about for Denver, but I think clearly the market respects what they saw from Golden State in the opener against the LA Lakers. They are positioned right now as a 2.5. My favorite bet will actually come from that game tonight, so we will get involved there. I will acknowledge the NBA news that we saw today. Perhaps a few times throughout our show, we will bring up what has happened around Terry Rozier. We really should get less into what's happened around Chauncey Billups. The Rozier stuff is more of the same. We've seen Rozier, his name tossed around in these scandals for over a year at this point. It seems on the level, maybe worse, but around what was going on with Jonte Porter. For the Chauncey Billups stuff, it's a lot more muddier. It may be tied to sports betting. It is decidedly tied to a illegal poker ring and some fraud that was going on there for Chauncey Billups. I think the 2 things that I most want to say on the subject is, firstly, for the people who are taking this story as a time to point fingers at sportsbook operators, I think you're largely missing the mark. We could have a conversation about how expansive menus need to be, right? But I hate a world for us as prop bettors who love to dive into these markets, losing out on a full expansive prop menu. But those regulated sports books made Terry Rozier a little bit easier to identify. The other thing I will just bring up is this notion that the NBA is cooked. This is very, very simple. There's a lot of people who don't like the NBA. That's just what it is. You watching this may not like the NBA, so then in turn won't like what I'm saying. And that is what it is. But it's true. People are complaining about, oh my gosh, it costs like $600 to watch every NBA game this year. 1, you don't watch NBA games. 2, it costs that, if not more, to watch the NFL. I missed all of those tweets. All of these leagues are adding partners and partners and partners because it's good for their media rights deals, and that's why the league is fine and not cooked or not dying and not in a state of panic. Again, we may get into that a little bit more as the show goes on, but I thought certainly a sports betting story would be relevant off the top here on a sports betting show. Where else might people be looking to get involved here on a Thursday? As always, there is some college football action, though a very light night tonight with just one Sun Belt game here. It's Georgia State and South Alabama. 1-6 versus 1-6. Yet a road 1-6 team checking in as a favorite. Probably going to be a little bit more excitement for tomorrow's slate, which features some ACC action, as well as Boise State in the mix, and the wagon that is North Texas laying a monster number against Charlotte. NHL action available as well if you would like. The Rangers finally scored in a home game. That came off of the stick of Artemi Panarin. It came in the first period. A minute in, and they didn't score again. They've played 4 games, 60 minutes. Hold on. That's 240 minutes of hockey, and they've scored, in the first minute of one game. That's a long time of watching hockey at the Garden without your team giving you something to be excited about. Pretty tough. Pretty tough right now for the Rangers. They are monster favorites against one of the worst teams in the league who have yet to win a game. That, of course, being the San Jose Sharks. You would expect the Rangers to score, 2 goals tonight here. Again, it's a loaded night of ice if you are looking to bet it. One of the better games does come late night with the Avs as a minus 135 home favorite against the Carolina Hurricanes. But we come back. We are joined by our guy, Donnie Rightside. Any value tonight in our matchup between the Chargers and the Vikings? We'll get his thoughts next. Keep it right here. It's Game Time Decisions. We're live on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell, Genty will finish the season as the top rookie fantasy running back. And I guess I would ask this question to you, George. Who the bleep is he competing with at this point? It is so ugly at running back in fantasy. RJ Harvey has done nothing. Omarion Hampton is hurt. Caleb Johnson, does anybody even know where that guy is? He doesn't even play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what am I missing here? Oh, there's one. There's one that I'm missing. There's one that I'm missing.
I'll name that for you. I'll name the guy you didn't mention there. Well, Henderson's another guy, by the way. The New England Patriots don't trust, right? They don't play him. But the guy that could compete with Genty, would be the name that you said you loved during preseason. You love this guy's name, Cam Scotabo, right? He'd be the guy. He's right there with them. The only problem for Cam would be, A, it is the Giants. Their schedule is brutal. And B, Tracy should return. So that's going to take away. Cam will be the starters. I think he will be. But Tracy's going to eat up some touches there. So that's my only issues there. But I think he's the guy who competes with Genty for that number 1 overall role, which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's not Hampton, but he got hurt. Shocked that it's not Henderson, but they don't like him. Shocked whatever, RJ Harvey in Denver, whatever's going on here. Will he finish the season at his top? This is a little different when I say I automatically take the field here because there's only one other guy. I'm going to buy this. Genty's the best guy, but would I be surprised if it's Scotabo? No, I would not.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this for the guy that I just forgot about in Cam Scotabo. I guess the only concern that I would have, and it's a slight one, is that in a couple of weeks, Tyrone Tracy comes back.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions here on a Thursday night, as always. Right off the top, joined by our guy, Donnie Rightside. Catch him each morning, Monday through Friday, nice and early, On the early line alongside Joe Ranieri, DRS, great to have you here on a very busy Thursday.
Oh, happy to be here. Grand opening, grand closing. The NBA, great opening night. Now the league's going to shut down in a matter of 6 months. Let's talk about it. Let's have an open forum right here tonight. Let's get after it.
Yeah, I figured, say, off the top, I said we may get into it more. I was going to kind of allow you to. Here's the thing. Because Donnie and I just, we don't have money line at our disposal anymore. I come into these situations.
That would take up some time.
Yeah, it sure would. It would have been. Listen, we would have had a really fun money line today. I never know how. I think I have a decent idea when Donnie's trolling and when he's not. But I know when a story interests Donnie, and I know that that's the situation going on here with the NBA. So I will give it to you. Where are you at, Donnie, on this story?
It's a non-starter for me because this happens in every single league. It's the hot topic this morning. Kevin, in 2 days, nobody will remember this story even happened at this point. But it's fun to talk about, and also the people have no idea actually what took place and what is going on right now. You got to cancel all prop bets. It's the only way to get rid of this. Are you kidding me? When somebody has a drink at a bar and there's a DUI in North Carolina, does New Jersey as a state say, we can't have alcohol sales anymore? We will not remember this story in 2 days. How about that, Kevin?
Yeah, listen, I think that I certainly, Donnie, if I had to pick between that take there or the NBA is going to cease to exist, you know what I mean? It is what it is. We'll leave it at that. Let me actually ask you this, though, Donnie, because, and then we're going to get into the football and the baseball and all that, but as much as I know, right, your bread and butter, betting the baseball, betting the National Football League, over the years, you've really enjoyed betting the NBA. And I noticed you were involved a little bit on the NBA opening night. What's the early season thought process for you as someone who's going to lightly probably scan betting the NBA board nightly?
Just have fun early on because I had the Celtics opening night because I just said the same old Sixers, right? And I went to bed in the third quarter with the Celtics with a double-digit lead, woke up to see the Sixers won, and I loved it, but I still lost money. I also had a Steph Curry prop over 4.5 3-point shots made. Like, hey, man, opening night, he's going to be firing away. He wasn't doing that. So I just need to see, let's just say a 10-game span, Kevin. Who's scoring, who's not scoring, who's shooting 3-point shots, who's not doing that, who's fulfilling their roles, and then you can start to make a little money, at least on my side. I've really enjoyed the opening to the NBA season. I'm not going to lie about that. Opening night was fantastic. Do you know why? Ring ceremonies. I'm always in on that. Big night in OKC. Superstars. The NBA gave us a matchup we all wanted to see, and it went double overtime in a 1-point victory, and I just saw the ratings. They were fantastic. But this is where I get upset about it, Kevin. We'll get into December and January and February. That same game between the Houston Rockets and also OKC, 4 or 5 starters will be down because we're going to rest and we're only ready for the playoffs. If the NBA was just exactly like it was opening night, Kevin, my goodness, it would be such a great regular season. But 82 games is just way too much. It is.
Yeah, and listen, it's hard for them to pull back. I will say, Donnie, there was just a level of intensity in opening night.
I loved it. But
Donnie, I thought it was there on Wednesday. And I'm curious if maybe just some of the way these teams are built, we get a little bit more of that throughout the season. We'll certainly be, tracking, watching, following. Let's start though, Donnie, to get into this Thursday night game here. And you know what? We maybe have a little bit of extra time. And I got to tell you, listen, I miss getting to, every day with my guy DRS. But there are sometimes I see a story and I go, I know he's handling this. Because I'm doing my part and I know he's doing his. What am I talking about? The J.J. McCarthy situation, Donnie. A team who, clear as day, does not like their quarterback. And then all of a sudden we got Michigan men saying, always a 6-week injury, who are then getting community noted with their own tweets, being like, actually, not so much. What do you make, Donnie, of the Vikings QB situation?
Put it this way. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but Mahomes' leg fell off in the middle of a playoff game, and Andy Reid's like, you're going back to the locker room. He's like, no, I don't. I'm playing. And then he ends up playing the rest of the playoffs and in the Super Bowl on one leg at this point. Understand this. You don't want to rush a guy back from injury. But also, you are not getting the best quarterback play we've ever seen since Joe Montana from Carson Wentz, and all we're getting is, it's a short week this week. We came off the bye, but, we want to take this slow. Let's give him another break here. And the Vikings aren't 7-0 right now like we get all the time in the world with this kid to come back. Something doesn't smell right where a quarterback that's not built like Michael Vick and is going to run all over the place can't get back in that pocket, and they're not anxious to get him back. That's what worries me. We never see this, man. We always know the smell test, and this doesn't pass it right now.
No, it doesn't. Not the best is, and the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow's been on this. He goes, they keep making him the emergency quarterback. They're like, listen, if worst case comes to worst, we'll put him in. It's like, no, dude, that's your franchise. If he's messed up, you wouldn't. Pat Mahomes will spend 0 career games as the emergency quarterback. That's the comparison that we can make. So, Donnie, are we backing Wentz tonight? What's the thought process there?
We're back in points tonight, and here's the reason why. A couple of these reports came out. You're going to get Darryl Saw active here. Now, granted, I actually thought both of the tackles would be active. O'Neal looks like he's going to be down, which could be an issue now that you get, a better pass rush for the Chargers. But make no mistake about this. We're not worried about wind. We're not worried about rain. We're in a dome tonight. There are elite wide receivers in this game tonight. The one thing we like about Carson Wentz when we deal with the total, you saw it last week. A lot of yards passing, moving the football, and also big interceptions going the other way. Understand this. The Eagles did beat Minnesota last week, which was a good win for the Eagles, but you had 6 scoring drives from Minnesota, but 5 of those were for field goals tonight. I do think Minnesota scores, and also the Chargers can come back and counteract that. They have a really good lineup, and also Gadsden emerging as a young tight end. There's weapons all over the place. Also understand this. Aaron Jones back at running back tonight. I'm not saying he gets 15 to 20 touches, but now that screen game starts to open up. We have another electric player. Take the points tonight to the over. 44.5. We're getting 45 plus tonight between these two, Kevin.
Yeah, I don't mind that look, DRS. I think the offensive lines for these teams, though, it's probably a part of the inconsistency that we've seen. Joe Alt back tonight. If the Chargers look like weeks 1, 2, and 3, I think we can completely overreact and go, oh, no, they're totally back. That's just how bad they need Joe Alt. But it is certainly a spot where the Chargers desperately need this game. DRS, I think we're going to switch over to the baseball next. Did anyone from a touchdown perspective stand out to you tonight?
No, I couldn't really place to see who's going to get it. I mean, Justin Jefferson should eat as well. I've really fallen in love with Keenan Allen, getting a lot of volume on the outside. So if I were looking for a touchdown, I had to pick one guy tonight. Give me a Rondé Gadsden. How about that?
Whoa, the big man into the end zone. Yeah. Let's talk a little World Series with our guy, Donnie Rightside, next here on a Thursday night.
Buy or sell, Genty will finish the season as the top rookie fantasy running back. And I guess I would ask this question to you, George. Who the bleep is he competing with at this point? It is so ugly at running back in fantasy. RJ Harvey has done nothing. Omarion Hampton is hurt. Caleb Johnson, does anybody even know where that guy is? He doesn't even play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what am I missing here? Oh, there's one. There's one that I'm missing. There's one that I'm missing.
I'll name that for you. I'll name the guy you didn't mention there. Well, Henderson's another guy, by the way. The New England Patriots don't trust him, right? They don't play him. But the guy that could compete with Genty, would be the name that you said you loved during preseason. You love this guy's name, Cam Scotabo, right? He'd be the guy. He's right there with them. The only problem for Cam would be, A, it is the Giants. Their schedule is brutal. And B, Tracy should return. So it's going to take away. Even Cam will be the starters. I think he will be. But Tracy's going to eat up some touches there. So that's my only issues there. But I think he's the guy who competes with Genty for that number 1 overall role, which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's not Hampton, but he got hurt. Shocked that's not Henderson, but they don't like him. Shocked whatever, RJ Harvey in Denver, whatever's going on here. Will he finish the season at his top? This is a little different when I say I automatically take the field here because there's only one other guy. I'm going to buy this. Genty's the best guy, but would I be surprised if it's Scotabo? No, I would not.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this for the guy that I just forgot about in Cam Scotabo. I guess the only concern that I would have, and it's a slight one, is that in a couple of weeks, Tyrone Tracy comes back.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Live with you on a Thursday night, SportsGrid Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh, we're joined by Donnie Rightside. You can catch every Monday through Friday on the early line. You could also catch him, though, college football today on Saturday. I will say, DRS, a big weekend, I know, for one of your main takes on that show with Notre Dame handling business against USC.
How did I become the number one Notre Dame fan telling everybody, don't you worry about those first 2 weeks as we climb, because the easiest schedule I've ever seen outside of Penn State's is Notre Dame's this year. They will make the college football playoff, and it's been a lot of fun to talk about it every week, where Lisi tells me no, 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 and I say, well, Joe, where are they going to lose? I don't know if they lose. Well, what are we talking about here? They're going to be in the playoff. Don't worry. ND's in, man. Cash that ticket.
Yeah, my big take, DRS, is Marcus Freeman is capable of losing a bad one. But the people who are like, I don't know if 2-loss Notre Dame gets in. Listen, man, I got some bad news for you if you really think that, if that's what's going on. All right, let's talk a little World Series, DRS, because it, of course, begins tomorrow. And it's a fascinating matchup that we have between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. I'm going to give you what's my number one take so far on the series and tell me if you agree. If the Mariners were in this series, don't even bother. 4 or 5 games, Dodgers absolutely would have destroyed them. I think the Blue Jays are a very difficult matchup here for the Dodgers, and of all of these AL teams, have the best chance to give them a run for their money.
Yeah, starting pitching-wise, I probably went towards Seattle, but Seattle's not the type of team, Kevin, that you want in a series where you have dominant starting pitching from another team. You say, well, Donnie, what are you talking about? Well, I know about my Philadelphia Phillies. You give some average pitching out there, the Phillies will smoke you up and down that ballpark. You bring some hammers out there, and all of a sudden, like, wait a second, we got to get 3 singles in an inning to score a run? We haven't done that all season long. That's what the Seattle Mariners are, boom or bust. That's not what the Toronto Blue Jays are. They have a lineup there that hit for average. Ooh, that's something to talk about in 2025 when nobody hits for average. The thing that they need to do, though, Bichette's coming back in the lineup. That is going to be a great help. Hopefully his timing is still there. They have to ambush the Dodgers in game number 1. Look, Donnie, well, they can lose game number 1 and game number 2. They just did it against Seattle. You can't do that against the Dodgers. They're throwing Cy Young every single night at you. And also, sometimes you have to punch the bully, as we like to say, Kevin, right in the mouth. The Dodgers aren't used to being behind. Since like September 1st, they're unbeatable. I don't even know if they even were down in a game outside the Philadelphia Phillies game the way it felt. But understand this. If you can get them on the ropes in game number 1, if you can get that city and that team to believe, that's a legitimate chance. But I do agree with you. The Mariners might be able to crack 5 home runs in a game, but that's going to be few and far between when guys like Blake Snell are dealing. Hang around that baseball team. Foul off pitches. Run that pitch count up, Kevin. Get to the bullpen of the Dodgers and get that game even.
Yeah, I think, DRS, when I look at the offense for Toronto, the gap down between the Dodgers' rotations performance so far and the next closest is about the gap between the Blue Jays' offensive performance and the next closest. Donnie, as a team, they're batting like a tick under 300 right now.
It's impressive to watch here, and you're right about this, because here also, regression to the mean, we talk about that a lot as handicappers, right? I'm not saying like, oh, well, Blue Jays are going to go down to hitting 220, but you can't have a Dodgers pitching staff where it's like, yeah, well, they give up 1 run every 9 innings and 3 hits, and that's the way it's going to be the rest of the way. You're not playing the White Sox the White Sox and the Rockies. Like, you're playing a really good baseball team. Sooner than later, you're going to be shocked. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Snell, 3 innings, pitch 4 and runs. What's going on right now at this point? You can't be Cy Young every night, and you got to hope from a Toronto perspective, they show up early. Put the pressure on the Dodgers. They haven't had any pressure yet.
No, they absolutely they haven't. Oh, you know what? I'm glad I remember this before I let you get out of here. A.J. Brown? What's the report, Donnie? Because I can't. I haven't seen you mention this one. I feel like you're looking for more information on this one.
Yeah, because I don't know if this is a hamstring injury. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's one of those things where maybe I don't feel so good. I'm unhappy because my favorite thing is, like, if we would have watched that game and A.J. Brown at the end of that game was walking across the field with a big puss on his face, like, my other guy got $190. I only got like $125 and 2 scores. I still don't like this football team. I'm going to pout next week. That's what I feel. I feel like this hamstring is just a need for AJ. Get your feelings together. We'll see you out there on Friday. And then you can send out another cryptic tweet about how nobody's using you, but you're more than happy to be in Philadelphia and you love Jalen.
I just don't understand. But he had 2 touchdowns, Donnie. He should be in a.
Did you see the last catch he had of the game, the deep ball, too? Like, what was he doing? Looked like he was just walking around, and he got tackled real slow, and he was, like, sort of upset. I don't know what's going on.
Wait, I'm glad. Donnie, I know, like, everyone wants to talk about Hurts. A.J. Brown looks like the slowest, best receiver I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know.
Donnie, I've been workshopping behind the scenes. Can we just make him play tight end? Because there was a while Dallas Goedert was getting all the catches, and this might solve everything here. DRS, we appreciate it. We dive more into the Chargers side of Thursday Night Football next on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell, Genti will finish the season as the top rookie fantasy running back. And I guess I would ask this question to you, George. Who the bleep is he competing with at this point? It is so ugly at running back in fantasy. RJ Harvey has done nothing. Omarion Hampton is hurt. Caleb Johnson, does anybody even know where that guy is? He doesn't even play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what am I missing here? Oh, there's one. There's one that I'm missing. There's one that I'm missing.
I'll name that for you. I'll name the guy you didn't mention there. Well, Henderson's another guy, by the way. The New England Patriots don't trust, right? They don't play him. But the guy that could compete with Genti, would be the name that you said you loved during preseason. You love this guy's name, Cam Scotabo, right? He'd be the guy. He's right there with them. The only problem for Cam would be, A, it is the Giants. Their schedule is brutal. And B, Tracy should return. So that's going to take away. Cam will be the starter, so I think he will be. But Tracy's going to eat up some touches there. So that's my only issues there. But I think he's the guy who competes with Genti for that number 1 overall role, which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's not Hampton, but he got hurt. Shocked that it's not Henderson, but they don't like him. Shocked whatever, RJ Harvey in Denver, whatever's going on here. Will he finish the season at the top? This is a little different when I say automatically take the field here because there's only one other guy. I'm going to buy this. Genti's the best guy, but would I be surprised if it's Scotabo? No, I would not.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this for the guy that I just forgot about in Cam Scotabo. I guess the only concern that I would have, and it's a slight one, is that in a couple of weeks, Tyrone Tracy comes back.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, it's a Thursday night, getting you ready for a lot of action. We've got a 2-pack of NBA in prime time, and of course, a Thursday nighter in the NFL with the Vikings making the trip to LA to face the Chargers. To help us talk a little bit more about the LA side of this one is Alex Insdorf. He does an excellent job covering this Charger team, and there's a number of places we could start, but I kind of already told you where I was going to begin here, Alex. It's your guy, Oronde Gadsden, and for anybody who does not follow Alex over on Twitter, 1, mistake, but 2, do, and you will see right away, this is his guy through the preseason, the draft process here. So just tell me what you saw leading up and what your big takeaway was from the breakout last week.
Yeah, this was a guy who in training camp was just making plays with Herbert every day, dating back to rookie mini camp, OTAs. And it just felt like he was going to find a way on the field. The first 2 weeks, he's a healthy scratch because there's Will Dissly and Tyler Conklin ahead of him. But it just felt like whenever he was going to get that chance, it was going to happen. And then he gets in that Broncos game, comes up with 5 clutch catches. And then, of course, the breakout game last week with 164 yards. So it felt like this was coming. But he has now established himself as the clear tight end 1 for the Chargers. Now, I probably would have said 400 yards for the season, and he's already at 300. So this has certainly even gone beyond my expectations, but I think he's shown them why they were so high on him in the draft, and certainly why I was in the draft process.
You now have this interesting situation for Herbert where you look at the pass catching room. I mean, it's just flatly really good. Keenan Allen is not washed. Ladd McConkey has found his level. Quentin Johnson, I know the numbers weren't big last week, but he played he played a ton of snaps, so he seems to be about good to go, and he's had this breakout season. Gadsden, is it just as simple as now with Joe Alt back, this group should look and play a clean game the way we had grown accustomed to early season?
Yeah, I certainly think with Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins back, assuming they're both, close to 100%, then this is a game where they'll certainly get a lot more help in the tackle spots. They allowed something like 11 pressures out of the tackle spots last week with Austin Decula starting. So this is a big upgrade for them in terms of getting that early season offense back. And then, like you said, certainly compared to last season, you have Keenan Allen, you have Ladd McConkey, you have Quentin Johnston. You have even Trey Harris, who, hasn't gotten a lot of playing time because of the guys in front of him, but he's a guy that can get in the game and make a difference. Gadsden, right? So definitely chock full of weapons, and they're going to need Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins to protect well tonight because Brian Flores, as we know, is going to bring plenty of pressure, plenty of blitzes. So, Justin Herbert, one of the better quarterbacks, against the pressure and against the blitz, but certainly going to need his guys up front to protect him tonight.
Defensively, though, is where this Chargers team in recent weeks, Alex, it reads like they've lost the identity, certainly the early season production. What are you seeing in recent weeks from this LA defense, and where are the struggle points?
Yeah, I think the big thing for them is the run defense, and that really showed against the Commanders, where Bill Krosky-Merritt ran over them. Then you went to Miami, and Achane had a bunch of unblocked runs. And that's why I was ultimately very concerned going into that Colts game, because it's like the Colts have an elite offensive line, and they have Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor basically had 2 unblocked, big, explosive touchdown runs in that game. And, before you know it, they're down 20-3, really before Justin Herbert's even had much of a chance to make something happen. So definitely think it was a setback for the defense last week. I do think tonight is a better matchup for them against Carson Wentz and a Vikings offensive line that's going through its, sort of problems. So this should benefit them and maybe be a get-right game for the defense. But I definitely think the last 3 or 4 weeks you've seen their issues fitting the run, and definitely some of their issues on the coverage on the back end of that.
What's interesting to me, for one of the most fascinating things, Alex, about the AFC is what is at the moment the consensus best team, Kansas City Chiefs. They aren't in the playoffs if the season ended today. When you just take a step back and look at the AFC West right now, how do you feel about the Chargers' chances? Because that 3-0 all-in-division start, I mean, the world was their oyster, and now we're back near 4-1.
Yeah, I think certainly you've seen the injury setbacks over the last couple of weeks. You lose a pretty winnable game against the Giants, and those are the games that are going to, kill you in this league. So they, they'll have another chance to play the Chiefs. They'll have another chance to play the Broncos and another chance to play the Raiders, make up some games, certainly in the division. But I do feel like they are in some must-win territory, even to just preserve a wild card spot right now. The Jags are, breathing down their necks. Chiefs, as you mentioned. So I definitely think this is, forget about the division for now. Just win week to week and, preserve your playoff livelihood. And they're 1-3 in their last 4 games, and I think winning tonight would obviously just be massive. You get a 10-day break, but if you lose, then there's obviously going to be conversations about, hey, you started 3-0 and now you're back to 4-4.
I do think, to your point though, Alex, and to let so people I think fully understand, if they handle their business and win tonight, I know nothing in this league is guaranteed, but the follow-up is at Tennessee. Right. They will be probably around a touchdown favorite in that. Then they're home against Pittsburgh. We'll see how the Steelers look heading into that game. An important one on the road against Jacksonville, but then it's bye week and out of the bye week home against Vegas.
Right.
As frustrating as the stretch has been, they bought themselves wiggle room with that 3-0 start. Yeah. So I think that is why they are so fascinating to me, because I don't think they are this fraud, they were found out, leave them for dead, it's all going to come collapsing on their heads. But you said it, they have to win this game tonight.
Yeah. I do feel like they have to win this game. If you don't win this game, that certainly puts a lot of pressure on those AFC matchups you mentioned. The Steelers game, which is going to be big, and then they also have a pretty massive game against the Jags on that schedule, because I think if you look at the New York Times model that they have right now, that's one of their biggest like playoff. If they win, they get kind of get in games, and if they lose, then their playoff percentage takes a big shot. So that's another one that's big for them. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if you lost to an NFC opponent tonight, but I do feel like the general consensus is you lose this game, you're 1-4, and now we start to have some conversations about how you're going to play some of those AFC teams down the back half of the schedule, including the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Jags, and the Steelers again.
Alex, I'll end with this, and I really appreciate you making some time on the night of the game, but with the tape that you watched on the Colts side, how real does that all feel? Because obviously they are smashing anyone's highest expectations coming into the season.
Yeah, no, it feels very real to me. And I watched some of the tape when they played the Cardinals the week before. And that interior offensive line, obviously we associate the Eagles generally as being like the pinnacle of the offensive line in sport. The Colts might be in that conversation now. And I feel like, as much as people talk about Daniel Jones' skepticism, obviously they have, arguably the best running back in the league right now, Jonathan Taylor. And when you have that offensive line, as we saw in Philadelphia last year, if you have that, like your offense is just so high floor. And that's the thing that strikes me about the Colts, even with their injuries on defense. That offense is going to absolutely keep them in ball games into January.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to follow. Alex, we really, really appreciate it. Best luck throughout this season.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, great stuff. Again, find him over on Twitter at AlexInsdorf99, host of Bolt Breakdowns there for the Guilty as Charged podcast. We're going to stay in Indianapolis. Little Pacers talk with Dustin Dopirak next on Game Time Decisions.
Buy or sell, Gentry will finish the season as the top rookie fantasy running back. And I guess I would ask this question to you, George. Who the bleep is he competing with at this point? It is so ugly at running back in fantasy. RJ Harvey has done nothing. Omarion Hampton is hurt. Caleb Johnson, does anybody even know where that guy is? He doesn't even play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what am I missing here? Oh, there's one. There's one that I'm missing. There's one that I'm missing.
I'll name that for you. I'll name the guy you didn't mention there. Well, Henderson's another guy, by the way. The New England Patriots don't trust, right? They don't play him. But the guy that could compete with Gentry, would be the name that you said you loved during preseason. You love this guy's name, Cam Scotabo, right? He'd be the guy. He's right there with them. The only problem for Cam would be, A, it is the Giants. Their schedule is brutal. And B, Tracy should return. So that's going to take away. Cam will be the starters. I think he will be. But Tracy's going to eat up some touches there. So that's my only issues there. But I think he's the guy who competes with Gentry for that number one overall role, which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's not Hampton, but he got hurt. Shocked that it's not Henderson, but they don't like him. Shocked whatever, RJ Harvey in Denver, whatever's going on here. Will he finish the season at his top? This is a little different when I say I automatically take the field here because there's only one other guy. I'm going to buy this. Gentry's the best guy, but would I be surprised if it's Scotabo? No, I would not.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this for the guy that I just forgot about in Cam Scotabo. I guess the only concern that I would have, and it's a slight one, is that in a couple of weeks, Tyrone Tracy comes back.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Back here on Sports Grid, Kevin Walsh with you. We're getting you set up for the NBA action tonight, which allows us to bring in Dustin Dopierek. Does an excellent job covering the Indiana Pacers for the Indianapolis Star. Dustin was gracious enough to join us throughout last year's finals run, and it's good to get you back here, Dustin, before this season gets underway appropriately with a finals rematch, though much different set of circumstances. The Tyrese Halliburton injury that happened at the very beginning of game number 7 is what looms large over this Indiana Pacers season. What is the sense you get around this group heading into 2025, 2026?
I think they're obviously aware of what the challenge is. I mean, they built everything around Tyrese Halliburton's style of play, the pace, everything they like to do is because Tyrese Halliburton wants to do it. I mean, Rick Carlisle basically watched Halliburton play, really wanted to draft him in Dallas, going way back. And he said that Mark Cuban tried everything he possibly could to be able to trade up in that draft, and they weren't able to do it. Carlisle was a big admirer of Halliburton for a long time. When they got him in that trade, I think he went out to dinner with him that night when he came into town and said, Tyrese, like the keys are going to be in your hand. And especially after going through that season, the pace that they played with, even towards the end of that year, they ended up in the lottery. Rick was like, this has to be my guy. This is the guy around which I'm going to build kind of this like sort of whole new style. And so everybody they've brought in has been brought in mostly because they fit with what Halliburton wants to do. And suddenly you kind of take that out of the equation, and there is a sense of, all right, well, this guy is the engine. He is the guy that drives all this stuff. But they also believe in the style of play that's been established so much that they're just like, you know what, we're just going to lean into that and do it. It's going to be a little bit different without him on the floor. You're going to miss his gravity. You're going to miss his creativity. But, we can do this pretty well still. And I think they trust the kind of wear down effect that I think was so effective for them last year, their ability to full court pressure people, push the ball up the floor, try to exhaust teams. They were really effective in doing that, especially in the Cleveland series, in the Knicks series as well. And they trust that gives them, I think, at least a puncher's chance. And I think I've been really impressed with how effective the first unit is, at least, where you have Andrew Nembhard shift over to point guard, Benedict Mathurin, slipping in at the 2. You still have Aaron Nesmith and Pascal Siakam at the forward spots. Those guys have really, really good chemistry, and they've been to a finals together. They've been to 2 Eastern Conference finals in a row together. So it's a battle-tested group, and they know what it looks like all the way up. And so they kind of believe in that to at least make them competitive. I mean, they're not really talking about, well, we should be a playoff team, or we should win a playoff round, or we're going to go for a championship again. They're just like, you know what? Our style works. We're just going to put faith in that and see how far it gets us.
I would say, Dustin, that style, and I think it's real. I think it defines them, and that is what they're going to need in order to win games this season. It requires a level of buy-in. When you see the win total 36.5, would this team be disappointed though? If they're under 36.5, they're a bad basketball team. Like, yeah. I would think they would be disappointed if they're not a top 8 seed in a beaten up Eastern Conference.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the thing that I think they'll beat that unless they're not healthy, and the preseason wasn't good in that regard. They're out TJ McConnell until Rick Carlisle said basically ask me again November 9th. Whether he's going to be. I think it was, so that was like 2 days after the injury. He said it's October 9th today. Ask me in a month about when he's coming back. So he's going to be out at least that long. And that's a rough start. You're talking about a guy that I think was so important to what they've done the last couple of years. Really had I say rejuvenation. Not that his career was going in a bad place, but I mean this style has fit him so well and has advanced or enhanced parts of his offensive game that I don't think everybody realized were there. And it's so important to have a guy like that, just to run your second unit, to be just raise the standard of that group. And he's made everybody on that bench better. They went out and tried to get a couple of veteran guards. They did it even before TJ got hurt, and those haven't worked out. DeLon Wright played a game in the same game that McConnell got hurt. He got hit in the head in a collision with Jalen Clark, and they waived him that next day. They brought in Cameron Payne thinking he might be the guy. They ended up waiving him a couple of days before the cut deadline. So right now they don't have an obvious backup point guard for the first 10 games of the season. They're going to ask Ben Shepherd to try it. Talon Peter, a guy that they took with the 54th pick in the draft, is a guy that they're going to ask to try it. They might play Ray J. Dennis, a guy who's on a two-way contract. Let him play. You might see Quentin Jackson play that role as another two-way contract guy that's been effective for them in comparison to other two-way contract players. But that's still what you're talking about. I mean, the depth is rough. I think the first unit is playing really well, but they're going to go against a Thunder team that's got fantastic depth. And, those second unit minutes are going to be an adventure, are going to be really difficult for these guys to hang on. Obviously, they'll probably be creative with their subs and try not to put a full 5-second unit hockey shift type of thing together. But they're still going to ask a lot of bench guys. And when they're running up against Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, some guys like that, it's going to be rough. Like, I guess Caruso's got a concussion, so I don't know if he's going to play or not. But still, it is going to be, those minutes are going to be rough. They were tough in the preseason. They're going to be tough in the regular season. And I think that's where you could see it. And I think they'll be disappointed if they're fully healthy and they don't hit that. But, obviously they'll understand circumstances. If it's a season where they just get hit after injury, after injury, after injury, that's something they're going to point to and say, well, that's why we're not where we think we should be.
So, Dustin, the one other thing I really wanted to ask you about was the new front court that's going to be Nembhard and Mathurin, where both guys are getting a lot of buzz around most improved player. And the idea is this forced upon them increased role. Of the two, do you think one has more of an inside track for that race than the other?
I think Mathurin, just because he's just got more scoring potential. I think. You could, and I think that will sell in that vote. I think whether that will be fair in the long run or not, will be interesting to see. But I think Mathurin would have the inside track just because, and that doesn't mean he's necessarily going to get better. It's just going to mean he's going to play more minutes and get more shots. And so that it'll probably be an easier statistical sell for him. And Nembhard's going to be an interesting case just because, all last year he was defending the best perimeter, players, and they're probably going to try to dial back his defensive assignments and give some of them to Mathurin, honestly, just so Nembhard can run the offense. But I'll be interested to see what each of their numbers look like. But they're all really important. I think the four of them, to Nesmith and Siakam together. Again, I've been really impressed with their chemistry as a group. But all those guys are going to have to change a little bit of their games and do a lot of stuff. Siakam is really going to be sort of the secondary ball handler. Mathurin, I think they're going to want to be really sharp with his decisions. It's going to be very interesting to see how that group plays together.
I'm really excited to watch this team for the first time this season. Dustin Dopirak, again, catch his work over at the Indianapolis Star. We really appreciate it. We'll be back with more Sports Grid after this quick commercial break.
Buy or sell, Genty will finish the season as the top rookie fantasy running back. And I guess I would ask this question to you, George. Who the bleep is he competing with at this point? It is so ugly at running back in fantasy. RJ Harvey has done nothing. Omarion Hampton is hurt. Caleb Johnson, does anybody even know where that guy is? He doesn't even play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What am I missing here? Oh, there's one. There's one that I'm missing. There's one that I'm missing.
I'll name that for you. I'll name the guy you didn't mention there. Well, Henderson's another guy, by the way. The New England Patriots don't trust, right? They don't play him. But the guy that could compete with Genty, would be the name that you said you loved during preseason. You love this guy's name, Cam Scotabo, right? He'd be the guy. He's right there with them. The only problem for Cam would be, A, it is the Giants. Their schedule is brutal. And B, Tracy should return. So that's going to take away. Even Cam will be the starters. I think he will be, but Tracy's going to eat up some touches there. So that's my only issues there. But I think he's the guy who competes with Genty for that number one overall role, which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's not Hampton, but he got hurt. Shocked that it's not Henderson, but they don't like him. Shocked whatever RJ Harvey in Denver, whatever's going on here. Will he finish the season at his top? This is a little different when I say I automatically take the field here because there's only one other guy. I'm going to buy this. Genty's the best guy, but would I be surprised if it's Scotabo? No, I would not.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this for the guy that I just forgot about in Cam Scotabo. I guess the only concern that I would have, and it's a slight one, is that in a couple of weeks, Tyrone Tracy comes back.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Back at the right here on Sports Grid. It is game time decisions on a Thursday, and you know what that means. We go to the world of soccer with the help of none other than Marcelino Ortiz. Marcelino, great to see you as always.
How are you, my friend? Happy to be here, straight from the Latin Nation Football Club headquarters every Friday here on Sports Grid. You can tune in and learn everything you need to know about soccer and place the best props that you can this weekend. And there's so much soccer this weekend, my friend. MLS playoffs are here. The final 16 teams that will be fighting for the MLS Cup. And also a little bit of Champions League that we had such an interesting match day this week that I couldn't let go. And I need to talk about it. How are you, my friend?
I am good. I know we don't have a ton of time. Maybe at the back end, I'll see if I can squeak in that big United win over Liverpool. But let's start in the MLS. Marcelino, Messi is going up against Nashville, and I know that's where a lot of eyes will be. What do you expect for this one?
This is going to be a crazy matchup. We can see up to 3 games between these two teams. This is a unique thing for the first round of MLS. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Miami is going to take both games. Nashville is going to be a tough opponent, but Messi is just coming into the playoff season at the highest level that I've seen him at a very long time. The 3 goals that he scored to secure the Golden Boot. You know, I'm a big critic of Messi and the level that he needs to show to really become the soccer messiah that everybody calls him. Right now, I think he's fulfilling the prophecy, and I think that Messi will score. Now, the props, both teams to score. Nashville won't go down easily. They will fight, and I think both teams to score. Messi to score and to assist is a safe bet. It's priced nicely, so I think that that's sure money in your pocket.
Awesome. Now, like you said, Marcelino, it's loaded here, the MLS slate. Sunday, Monday, I think even on Tuesday, NYCFC is playing. What are some of these other games that are really standing out to you?
For me, I'm going to tell you, one of the big ones, San Diego versus Portland. San Diego is the big surprise from the West. They have accomplished the feat of winning almost 29 times this season, the highest number of wins for an expansion team. They are in a roll, and I believe that they are the favorite for this game. Now, the problem, Chucky Lozano, one of their best players right now, he's off the team for discipline issues. There's conflict inside the locker room. This, I think, will be a factor. But what we see is that Portland, that just was able to win the play-in, might steal this series. I know the odds are not with me, but my hunch is that Portland will take this series. The first game, both teams to score, Portland to win, and corners. A lot of corners because these two teams go down the edges, down the sides of the field, so they will be getting a lot of corners. Those are my bets for that game. Another big game for me, the black and gold. LAFC versus Austin. This is going to be an all black and gold affair. I think Buanga and Sonny are going to come out and do a statement. Props for both players to score, Sonny to assist. And in the result, LAFC is going to win both games. Now, the big game on the West, Dallas versus Vancouver. Vancouver, again, for me, the most accomplished team of the season, will take this game for sure. Both games. I don't think Dallas is going to have a chance. So I'm going to go with Vancouver to score, not Dallas.
Okay, now, Marcelino, you mentioned wanted to talk a little Champions League here. Mm-hmm. I see the next match day features Real Madrid, Liverpool, PSG, and Bayern Munich. What in the Champions League is really catching your attention?
Right now is the resurgence of Liverpool. Liverpool spent 4 games in a row without winning, making everybody nervous. But then they came out and they demolished Frankfurt 5-1 in a visit. So I think that Liverpool is, for me, one of the big sleepers. Right now, they're at plus 700 to win, the third in the list to win it all. I think that this is a good price. Another team that is very well placed, Real Madrid. Right now at plus 950 to win because they didn't start that strong. There's a lot of question marks. But Real Madrid to win the Champions right now is a good price.
Not bad. I think we have enough. I mean, Marcelino, Ruben Abrams, this guy turned it around or what? I mean, is Manchester red? Not really, but that was a big win against Liverpool.
I think this is the moment that we see the turnaround for Amorim's squad. This win is symbolic. This win was important. And to go into Anfield against the biggest rival that you have and quiet them, really, really makes a statement for Amorim and their players. Bruno Fernandes, vintage performance. He's coming at a level that he needs to, be recognized. Also, Maguire is a great player as well.
It's true.
Making himself present. So I think that Manchester United is back, and we'll see him fight for Champions League spots again.
Amazing. Marcelino, we appreciate it as always. We are right back with more Sports Grid after the break.
Buy or sell, Genti will finish the season as the top rookie fantasy running back. And I guess I would ask this question to you, George. Who the bleep is he competing with at this point? It is so ugly at running back in fantasy. RJ Harvey has done nothing. Omarion Hampton is hurt. Caleb Johnson, does anybody even know where that guy is? He doesn't even play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what am I missing here? Oh, there's one. There's one that I'm missing. There's one that I'm missing.
I'll name that for you. I'll name the guy you didn't mention there. Well, Henderson's another guy, by the way. The New England Patriots don't trust, right? They don't play him. But the guy that could compete with Genti, would be the name that you said you loved during preseason. You love this guy's name, Cam Scotabo, right? He'd be the guy. He's right there with them. The only problem for Cam would be, A, it is the Giants. Their schedule is brutal. And B, Tracy should return. So it's going to take away. Cam will be the starters. I think he will be. But Tracy's going to eat up some touches there. So that's my only issues there. But I think he's the guy who competes with Genti for that number one overall role, which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's not Hampton, but he got hurt. Shocked that it's not Henderson, but they don't like him. Shocked whatever, RJ Harvey in Denver, whatever's going on here. Will he finish the season at his top? This is a little different when I say I automatically take the field here because there's only one other guy. I'm going to buy this. Genti's the best guy, but would I be surprised if it's Scotabo? No, I would not.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this for the guy that I just forgot about in Cam Scotabo. I guess the only concern that I would have, and it's a slight one, is that in a couple of weeks, Tyrone Tracy comes back.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We're making it happen on a Thursday night. Mike Blewett joins the show. Always great to have Mike here with us. Of course, you can catch Mike leading our Sunday in-game live coverage of the National Football League. We'll talk about some of the big games that Mike will be following in just a little bit. But we begin with a Thursday nighter between the Chargers and the Vikings, Mike. I'm curious if this is a game that's really jumping off the page to you.
So I think it otherwise would, but the spread sort of reflects, I think, the way everybody feels at the moment, that there's an expectation that the Chargers would be better than they are right now. But it's something I mentioned a bunch on these shows, and I now notice that it's a pretty common take. So I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here when I say that the Chargers aren't playing the way they want to play, nor the way that we've expected them to play. But the arrival now of Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins into the lineup could have them back, the Kamani Vidal toting the rock, getting back to where they want to be. Last year, they really controlled the amount of pace that they had versus other teams. Herbert was limited in the number of pass attempts that he had, and this year it's spiked quite a bit, right? They didn't have three starting offensive linemen for more than a month. Obviously, they won't get Slater back, but now with these two returning, maybe it looks like it did a couple of weeks ago when Vidal had a huge game against the Dolphins. So I think they get a look back towards that. The 3.5, the hook is always going to concern you on some level. I do like the Chargers tonight. I particularly like them in the first half, playing 2.5. I think there's a chance too we get into some points in the second half of this game. The second half totals for both of these teams over the course of the last year plus are pretty strong. So I think you get more points in the second half, but I like the Chargers to establish the run early. I think Wentz might have some struggles tonight against the way these Chargers like to play defense.
I haven't, I guess, we've had a great show here tonight. We've had a lot of people stop by. I haven't really had a lot of opportunity to talk about what I'm betting in this game. I will say this is a side that I expected to be on, since late Sunday night. Looked at the line, looked at the matchup, and the Chargers started at 2.5. Now, those 2.5s disappeared, I think, relatively quickly in the market. But at -3, which is still, accessible enough, I thought I would still be backing the Chargers. I just think, Mike, as I had more and more time to sit with this game, my confidence waned a little bit, and I think it's because of LA on the defensive side of the football. It's still Chargers are nothing for me. I do expect them to win, but so much was made early season about their ability to keep everything in front of them, and I look through recent weeks, they're getting beat up on the ground, and that's allowing more explosive plays through the air. That is why I think the Chargers, they got to have this game, but for me, I almost think sometimes it's telling, Mike, for me, I wonder if same for you, when I'm not betting on a team. And that's how I feel about LA tonight.
I think that's fair, but it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think the whole way that they're playing is antithetical to what Harbaugh wants to do. They're trying to control clock. They can get guys after the QB. They haven't really been able to do that. That Colts game was glaring in the way that they lost that game, Cap. To your point, they got run over. They gave up explosive plays. Now the Colts are having an excellent season, but the Chargers should be able to hang with them from a talent standpoint. I just think that hopefully these offensive linemen are able to stay healthy for at least this game, but I think it gets them a little bit back to where they wanted to be. Doing it against the Dolphins is one thing. Doing it against a team like the Vikings, which has some defensive talent, is another. So I think it gets back to where the Chargers where they want to be, which is controlling the clock, establishing this run. And I think Herbert has a good, efficient night, and it doesn't have to be eye-popping on the scoreboard for them to maintain an early lead. I think Wentz is going to have to be careful if the Chargers do control the clock in the way that I anticipate. Wentz is going to have to be careful of getting into the turnover game again. It's obviously his bugaboo. It was against the Eagles.
On the Minnesota side, Mike, and this is a story that I know it is up my alley, and I kind of understand why it didn't become bigger, but I still wish it did, which is the J.J. McCarthy injury, Wentz decision stuff. And just to reset, Mike knows this, but just to reset for everybody so we're all on the same page here, J.J. McCarthy got injured in week number 2, except the injury was not on film. They ruled him out immediately on Monday and then said it was going to be a 2 to 4 week ankle injury. And that was said by Adam Schefter of ESPN. On Sunday this past weekend, Adam Schefter reports J.J. McCarthy's injury, a 6-weeker, as we always knew the whole time, is still trending to be a 6-week injury, and we could see him back against the Lions. The problem with that is not only the fact that Adam Schefter himself told us from the jump it wasn't a 6-week injury. If it is a 6-week injury from the jump, you put the player on the IR. That's exactly what it is there for, to create an extra roster spot for your team. Now, I say I understand it become a bigger story because when ESPN's #1 reporter gets community noted using his own tweet, they're not going to run and talk about, hey, do you think Shefty was maybe, I don't know, carrying a little water for a fellow Michigan man? I'm sorry, but that's what happened, okay? I have no personal gripe against Schefter, why would I? But that's what happened. Mike, do you think I'm overstating any of this? Where are you at on the situation?
I understand the Michigan angle, and maybe he's handling it with kid gloves, but to me, that story is more about Schefter running with information that he's given and the Vikings changing their story and pushing this out longer. Like, that was a quick, to your point, nobody saw the injury during the game, and that was a quick determination that it was a high ankle sprain, and we knew he was out 2 to 4 weeks, and everybody's like, all right, 4, right? So we're pushing towards 4 now. It's obviously going to be 6, and that is the Vikings feeding the story to him in the way that they want it published. So it is curious. You're not a conspiracy theorist. I don't think any NFL person that follows the league the way that we do, at a greater level that we do, is an insider, would have to scratch their head at the way that this has played out. They geared their entire offseason to make sure that this guy was starting week 1. He did. He played one good quarter, and he was miserable otherwise. And then all of a sudden, a 6-week injury. I'm not saying that it's a fake injury. I'm just saying that there's reason to believe that just about every other quarterback would be playing by now.
Yeah.
Why isn't he?
Yep, I agree. And I will say, and for the record, I don't think Mike thinks this. I'm not saying I don't think the story to me is not Schefter. I just think the Michigan connection makes it very obvious why he would kid gloves the story, which is J.J. McCarthy is sitting on the sidelines because of his play for as much, if not more, of a reason than anything going on with his ankle. And that then is weird for a team. Here you go, Mike, who is watching Sam Darnold play like arguably the best quarterback in the league.
Why such a quick determination, though, during the season? The only answer for this, Kev, is that it was real bad during training camp. And they're like, well, we got to do this. We got to start it. And then they thought it looked bad during the regular season. And then he got effectively, strangely benched in the weirdest manner possible.
Yeah.
I don't have a good explanation other than to say this must not have looked very good all during the offseason.
I'll leave with this because then we're going to get into some Sunday stuff. If Wentz plays tonight the way the books think, which is throw an interception, lose the game, JJ will be ready to go against Detroit.
He should be.
They pull off an upset. He throws for 300 yards, multiple touchdowns. He's going to need another week. I guarantee you that. We got Mike Blute sticking around. It's Game Time Decisions on a Thursday night.
Buy or sell, Genty will finish the season as the top rookie fantasy running back. And I guess I would ask this question to you, George. Who the bleep is he competing with at this point? It is so ugly at running back in fantasy. RJ Harvey has done nothing. Omarion Hampton is hurt. Caleb Johnson, does anybody even know where that guy is? He doesn't even play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what am I missing here? Oh, there's one. There's one that I'm missing. There's one that I'm missing.
I'll name that for you. I'll name the guy you didn't mention there. Well, Henderson's another guy, by the way. The New England Patriots don't trust, right? They don't play him. But the guy that could compete with Genty, would be the name that you said you loved during preseason. You love this guy's name, Cam Scotabo, right? He'd be the guy. He's right there with them. The only problem for Cam would be, A, it is the Giants. Their schedule is brutal. And B, Tracy should return. So that's going to take away. Cam will be the starters. I think he will be. But Tracy's going to eat up some touches there. So that's my only issues there. But I think he's the guy who competes with Genty for that number 1 overall role, which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's not Hampton. He got hurt. Shocked that it's not Henderson. They don't like him. Shocked whatever, RJ Harvey in Denver, whatever's going on here. Will he finish the season at his top? This is a little different when I say automatically take the field here because there's only one other guy. I'm going to buy this. Genty's the best guy, but would I be surprised if it's Scotabo? No, I would not.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this for the guy that I just forgot about in Cam Scotabo. I guess the only concern that I would have, and it's a slight one, is that in a couple of weeks, Tyrone Tracy comes back.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, live on SportsGrid, we're in the mix with you here on a Thursday night. Pacers Thunder is going to get underway. I will just tell people this. Shea over 6.5 assists opening night was my favorite prop in that game. He was one of 5 players to have 17 potential assists in their opening game of the season. Those other players finished with 11 assists, 10 assists, 9 assists, 8 assists. Shea went under the 6.5 with 5. That game was tortured the entire way. I know a part of me says you should go back to that number, but simply put, the NBA props have not been good enough to warrant that decision. We're on the sidelines for the opening game here. I lean Indiana. I am not involved with this game. I am involved with the second game. We will do best bets in our next segment. You have not missed anything. None of those best bets have begun just yet, so we will get there in a bit. We are, though, now, in the meantime, with our guy Mike Blewett, who on Sunday will be leading, of course, SportsGrid's coverage of the 1 o'clock window. And surprise, surprise, Mike. There's a game at 1 o'clock that's really standing out to me. It just so happens to involve the Philadelphia Eagles. But it's actually standing out to me, Mike, not because of the Philly side. That's a lie. I'm lying, and I know I'm lying. The Giants piece of this is very interesting.
Yeah.
I have no idea how you respond from giving up 33 points in a quarter and losing that game the way they did. If you had to kind of pick, they quit, they step up massively, where are you on that, pendulum of possibility?
I think the Giants are battling the Falcons for the hardest team to figure out right now. They lose, they beat Philly, they lose to the Saints. They have the Broncos on the ropes, but drop the game. They're obviously very exciting. It took a wild series of events for them to lose that game. Obviously, it reminded me a little bit of the Super Bowl where the Patriots came back from down 28-3. And as furious and as impressive as the comeback was in both of these instances, the number of events that had to occur for the other team to just still leave time on the clock to lose the game, it's 1 in a million. It just doesn't really happen that all of those things happen to the negative for the one team. So I think you're right to question how they can respond. The one thing I would say is that the Giants are playing so much better than where they were when Russ Wilson was in. Dart really has given a lift. It's not cliche. He's given a lift to the whole team. But they're playing against a team now that just came off a good win again. Philly playing another tight game. I think that's what concerns you about a lot of their victories. They cinched it away with the Brown catch, and clearly they got Smith and Brown involved in a huge way. Saquon's numbers are still not where they want them to be on a week in, week out basis. But I understand your hesitance here. I don't know how to approach the Giants, but I would not expect this totally deflated effort. I think they can move on. If you're a Giants player, you're not approaching it like this. But I think the team in and of itself has to feel energized about all of this, that they're fighting in every game. They've picked up a couple of wins. A month ago, Kev, we were talking about, is this team going to challenge for the number 1 pick? Like, is Dart going to get beat up every single game? Part of the reason he's getting beat up is his own bold rushing.
Yeah.
But
he is beating himself up via the other guys.
Yeah. So he's going to have to find a way to protect himself in this game, though.
No, I think that is absolutely true. I also think, when we talk about effort, and this is true of football, I actually think at any level, high school, college, pro, it's actually determined through the week. No one shows up to an NFL game with all the pomp and circumstances like, can't really be bothered. It's actually the Tuesday practice, the Wednesday practice, you know what I mean, where all of that stuff starts to rear its head, and it's why coaches harp on it as much as they do. The other game at 1 o'clock, though, and in all sincerity, Mike, I actually think the biggest game at 1 o'clock, assuming the biggest player is playing, although it would be pretty big if he's not, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. A 1-5 football team who's nearly laying a touchdown to a Bears group that have won 4 straight games. Where are you at on this game on a Thursday?
So tough for me on this one. the Ravens' record is terrible, and they've earned every bit of it. And I think there are major question marks about the team.
Yep.
But when Lamar is healthy, it's vastly different. And by the way, other players that were banged up are getting healthier too. Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey are guys that have been banged up, and we'll see some action finally. Matabike is out for the year, so you still have to reckon with that. But on the flip side, kudos to the Bears, but there's this very Jaguars-like. The Bears have been succeeding with a lot of turnover luck, and I don't think that stuff can last. I started to bet against the Jaguars. I have to bet against the Bears here. I think 6.5 is too much to lay, but I think you have an opportunity here for the Ravens to come out hot, and look for the Ravens in the first half in particular, and the Ravens first half point total, which right now is 13.5. You take it now because it will get to 14. I think the Ravens come out, score 14-17 in the first half. It's my favorite bet in this game. I do think they win and cover, but maybe you look for some live betting opportunities in case the Bears get on board first. But I think you can expect the Ravens to come out and score when Lamar's under center.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, Mike. I will say, and I think you've not probably placed that bet yet. Like Sunday, let's get word he's in. Mm-hmm. One thing that always felt weird is the Lamar injury happened, and then it was 2 games at a bye. And it felt like everybody was like, yeah, we'll see him after the bye. And I don't know how much of because it was the bye, like, obviously he's going to be good to go. Like, would he have missed last week? The evidence is mounting, like, there was no chance he would have played last week either. Like, so were they that fortunate that they had this bye this week? Or, like, is he really ready to go? Like, I feel like I shouldn't be asking that on a Thursday. Like, I feel like it should be a 0% chance that Cooper Rush or Huntley starts this game. I think it's not 50-50, but it's not 0. And I think that adds to the weirdness of this one. We're going to close it out with Mike Blewett, get you best bets and everything else you need next here on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell, Genti will finish the season as the top rookie fantasy running back. And I guess I would ask this question to you, George. Who the bleep is he competing with at this point? It is so ugly at running back in fantasy. RJ Harvey has done nothing. Omarion Hampton is hurt. Caleb Johnson, does anybody even know where that guy is? He doesn't even play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what am I missing here? Oh, there's one. There's one that I'm missing. There's one that I'm missing.
I'll name that for you. I'll name the guy you didn't mention there. Well, Henderson's another guy, by the way. The New England Patriots don't trust, right? They don't play him. But the guy that could compete with Genti, would be the name that you said you loved during preseason. You love this guy's name, Cam Scotabo, right? He'd be the guy. He's right there with them. The only problem for Cam would be, A, it is the Giants. Their schedule is brutal. And B, Tracy should return. So that's going to take away. Cam will be the starters. I think he will be. But Tracy's going to eat up some touches there. So that's my only issues there. But I think he's the guy who competes with Genti for that number 1 overall role, which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's not Hampton, but he got hurt. Shocked that's not Henderson, but they don't like him. Shocked whatever, RJ Harvey in Denver, whatever's going on here. Will he finish the season at his top? This is a little different when I say I automatically take the field here because there's only one other guy. I'm going to buy this. Genti's the best guy, but would I be surprised if it's Scotabo? No, I would not.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this for the guy that I just forgot about in Cam Scotabo. I guess the only concern that I would have, and it's a slight one, is that in a couple of weeks, Tyrone Tracy comes back.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions, closing it out on a Thursday night. Our guy Mike Blewett is with us here on Sports Grid. It is always great to have Mike with us. You can catch him Sunday, 1 o'clock, leading our NFL in-game live coverage. We're going to run through best bets here. We're going to get Mike's. We're going to get the Cruise. Let's get the Cruise picks on the board. Best bet style. If you're in the association, I am, as is AJ. He's going to back the Warriors money line. Don't mind that look. Golden State is, when healthy, going to be a very good basketball team. I love the over in this game at 233. You just take a look at what the Lakers put up against that Golden State defense, and their top two, Reeves and Luka, 3 of 15 from beyond the arc. The team from the free throw line, abysmal, 17 of 28. That's under 61%. The Nuggets, to me, offensively are going to be ready to go, and that's what I think the addition of Jonas Valanciunas helps the most, especially against a team like the Warriors, who don't really approach this with a traditional center at any point on that roster. The Nuggets are going to throw, when I say traditional, I mean size, right? And the Nuggets are going to throw multiple of them at you here in this spot. But Golden State back home, I don't worry about shooting regression because, one, they're back home, and Steph didn't have a lights-out game against the Lakers, so I think they're set up well. From Chris and Sam, they go to the Thursday Nighter, rightfully so. A Vikings team total over 20.5 from Chris. I love this. You guys know that CK loves to get involved with an alt-team total. Straight up back in Minnesota here in a primetime spot. Sam with a sharp look on the long reception for Justin Jefferson over the 25.5. I believe a perfect 4-0 on this number with Carson Wentz as the starting quarterback for the Vikings. It's a touchdown Thursday. I guess AJ and I seeing the board similarly here. We're both going to back Jordan Mason. I'm not as concerned about the Aaron Jones return as maybe others are. I think Mason was trending towards being the lead back here regardless. Since the injury, I think that stays the case. My favorite bet in this NFL game is actually Jordan Mason over 12.5 rush attempts. We've talked about the Chargers' struggling run defense. I think Minnesota will look to attack with Mason and also try and limit the Wentz attempts so you are less likely to see those interceptions. Other touchdown scores for Sam, Keenan Allen, and for Chris, it is Justin Jefferson. Mike, talk to me here. What do you like tonight from this Thursday night matchup?
All right, a few. I think we already mentioned first half. I like the Chargers laying 2.5. I think you can look at Kamani Vidal over 58.5 rushing yards. His rushing attempts at 15.5 is pretty high. I'm going to lean on Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins being back to help pace that run game. So I'll take him over his rush yards. You look at Cameron Dicker. Field goals made over 1.5 is pretty juicy at minus 183. But he is somebody they like to use a lot. I think you can look at some long field goals as well from Dicker. It's over 52.5, longest field goal of the game. I like an over in that one. So a few there for you. My favorite bet, though, is Chargers laying 2.5 in the first half.
Yeah, I do not mind that one at all. Mike, there was one bet that caused a mini stir pre-show, and if this isn't up Mike Blewett's alley, I don't know what bet is. It was and let me just see if this is correct, but I believe a 750-1 first touchdown on Nyheim Hines. How do you feel, Mike? I think maybe a 75-1 because I'm now seeing 80-1. It could not have been bent down. Yeah, 80-1. Here's the problem. Some of that information is coming from some people who maybe, numbers, math, grammar, not top of the class. But Mike, Nyheim Hines' first touchdown, 80-1. Does it speak to you?
I love a bet like this.
Yeah, I know you do.
I just look. You're taking a chance for a reason. What are we doing? We're a sports wagering show.
Mike,
sometimes we're taking chances. Legally, I might add, we are taking chances. Very important day to say that.
Yeah.
Please play by the book, on the book.
Mike,
so,
can I just say this?
Yes.
And I just want to say this because we've been doing this long enough that this is true, okay? I am not acting like we are the sharpest and most impactful people in the world, but there are enough people here that watch these shows and then go and proceed to bet on FanDuel. That has been happening since I've been doing the early line. And what I am telling you is, if you think it is a coincidence that during Mike speaking, the 80-1 went to 65-1, you're nuts. which means this, because none of these guys, because I can see them in the back, are on their phone, so it's not like they clicked it again. Someone out there just bet Nyheim Hines because Chris Koski, before the show, thought I was crazy for saying betting Nyheim Hines is crazy. Mike, I guess the only thing left to say is you're welcome.
God bless. You're welcome. Sounds like a winner.
You're welcome. We'll do it again tomorrow. In Game Live is next.